All right. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
We are
shalom.
back. Continuing with our look at the triennial Torah portion. This week we will be looking at Genesis chapter 12 and 13. Let's see if we get to 13. We should be able to look at both chapters today. Today's chapter is Lecha, Lech, Lecha. And we will speak momentarily about what that means here shortly. But first, we're going to go ahead, get right into it. We're going to read. We'll just read first the 12th chapter here. Let me pull that up for us. One second. Oh. Yes. Read for us. Let's see here. Just read the whole chapter for us there. Start with the first verse.
Reading the scriptures.
Okay. It says, and Yahweh said to Abram, go yourself out of your land, from your relatives, and from your father's house, to a land which I show you, and I shall make you a great nation, and bless you, and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. And I shall bless those who bless you, and curse him who curses you. And in you all the clans of the earth shall be blessed. So Abram left, as Yahweh had commanded him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he set out for Haran. And Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and their possessions that they had gathered, and the beings whom they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan. And they came to the land of Canaan. And Abram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth tree of Moreh. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land, and Yahweh had appeared to Abram and said, to your seed I give you this land. And he built there a slaughter place to him who had appeared to him. And from there he moved to the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And he built there a slaughter place to Yahweh and called on the name of Yahweh. And Abram set out, continuing toward the south. And a scarcity of food came to be in the land. And Abram went down to Mitzrayim to dwell there, for the scarcity of food was severe in the land. And it came to be, when he was close to entering Mitzrayim, that he said to Sarai his wife, see, I know that you are a beautiful woman to look at. And it shall be, when the Mitzrites see you, that they shall say, this is his wife, and they shall kill me, but let you live. Please say you are my sister, so that it shall be well with me for your sake, and my life be spared because of you. And it came to be, when Abram came into Mitzrayim, that the Mitzrites saw the woman, that she was very beautiful. And Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house. And he treated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep and cattle and male donkeys and male and female servants and female donkeys and camels. But Yahweh plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, what is this you have done to me? Why did you not inform me that she was your wife? Why did you say she is my sister? And so I was going to take her for my wife. Look, here is your wife. Take her and go. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had had.
All right. Very good. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's just read the other chapter too, and then we'll just talk about both of them as we go.
13?
Yeah, because I don't think it's that long. Hold on. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, it's not that long. 18th verse.
Okay, go ahead.
And Abram went up from Mitzrayim into the south, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him. And Abram was very rich in livestock and silver and in gold. And he went on his journey from the south as far as Bethel to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the slaughter place which he had made there at first. And there Abram called on the name of Yahweh. Now Lot, who went with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, and the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Abram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And at that time the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land. Then Abram said to Lot, let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is not all the land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I go to the right, or if you go to the right, then I go to the left. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of the Jordan, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, like the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Mitzrayim, as you go towards Zoar. So Lot chose for himself all the plain of the Jordan, and Lot moved east, lest they separated from each other. Abram dwelling in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelling in the land in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were evil and sinned before Yahweh, exceedingly so. And after Lot had separated from him, Yahweh said to Abram, now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward. For all the land which you see I shall give to you and your seed forever. And I shall make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust of the earth, then your seed also could be counted. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. So Abram moved his tent and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Hebron, and built a slaughter place there to Yahweh.
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you very much. All right. Let's go back. A few things we want to look at over here. Go back to chapter 12. Beginning with the title Lech. Lecha. We look over here where it says, and Yahweh said to Avram, go yourself out of your land. This is where we see Lecha in the Hebrew. Go yourself out. I guess is a translation. That word there is kind of it is a derivative of, if you look here, let's see.
Just like to send Shalach.
Hold on. It's actually to walk, actually.
Oh.
Halach. The root here is halach, which is to walk, to go, to come, but it's also to behave. It's also to exercise. The things that you do. When we talk about our walk, right? We're not talking about us getting up and stepping, putting one foot in front of the other. We're speaking about our conduct. We're speaking about the way in which we conduct ourselves as how it relates to the Most High.
Mhm.
And so, let me see that little whiteboard real quick here, Iski. Because when we look at this word here, halach, which is the root for lech, lecha, you see some interesting things. I guess I like these pens because they have an eraser built in.
There's a big one over there. Too.
Yeah, I guess it would have been better if I
Hisky, grab that big one.
had that instead. By the time Hisky gets it, I'll probably be done. Okay, very good. Okay, so looking at the word halach, which is a hey, a lamed, and a kuf, which is actually it's a kaf. Actually, it's not a kuf. All right, so that is a man with his hands raised, shepherd's staff. Okay, so here, let me put this up here like this. Okay, so if we see over here, so hard to point to this stuff backwards. All right, so we have the hay, the lamed, and the kaf, which is the man with his hands raised, which has the idea of breath. It also has the idea of revelation. When you have a revelation, you might say, you might take in a breath, right? You have the shepherd's staff, which is the lamed, which gives you the idea of leading. So there's leading, there's instruction involved. Sometimes there's prodding involved in the shepherd's staff. And the open palm, which gives the allowance of things, right? So you have the idea of the open hand, the leading staff, and the man with his hands raised, which is the revelation. And so when we think about that word there, halach, then it can give you the idea of revelation, the revelation of the palm or the hand that's open, that is leading, right? And so when we see over here with what goes on with Avram at this time, he had a particular revelation. He had a particular revelation that caused him to move in the direction that that the Most High called for him to move in. We don't know exactly what this was. We don't get that in the text, but we do see that, he was with the people, and the Most High didn't see fit for him to stay with his family, but to move forward. Was this for the purposes of going to the land that would be the land of promise? Or was it for the purposes of getting away from the people that he was with? It very well could have been both of those things simultaneously, right? But I don't think that I don't think that it was just so that he can go and possess a particular land only. Because why then didn't the Most High just say, then you and your people go over here, right? Why did he have to leave his kinsmen and go over to this place that the Most High said? Actually, when you look at the place, right, he said to a land which I show you. So it's not even like he said, go over to this particular place. I mean, as far as we know, he could have just said, start walking that way.
Start walking east.
Yeah, right. But not knowing what what his destination would be. But even in that, we see that there obviously was some type of a connection that was made between Avram and the Most High, where he got to the point of faith. He gets to the point of understanding who the Most High is, and that is it would be behooved of him to follow the instructions that were given. And so again, it's interesting when we look at this, because I think that one of the unsaid things that we see over here is the fact that it's saying that he's supposed to go from your relatives and from your father's house. They probably weren't following the traditions that they must have had in order for Abraham to get them in the first place. These things, in order for Avram to know anything about the Most High, it had to have been from those that came before him. He knew at some point that that the Most High had respect for offerings made to him, and he knew which offerings to make that the Most High would be able to find pleasing when he did them. Mm-hmm. And the only way that he would have known these things would have been from the passing down of the ways, the traditions, from all the way back from Adam. Mm-hmm. However, because of the fact that when we look at part of the instructions in verse 1 to go yourself out of your land, from your relatives and from your father's house, it seems as if it's necessary for there to be this separation from Avram and his father's house. Again, we don't know what it is that they're doing, but why is it that the Most High is making these commands for him, unless there's a difference in their thoughts. We do see that Lot comes along, right? He said to leave your relatives. He must not have meant all of your relatives, because Lot was clearly his relative. And Lot went with him. And so again, it just leads me to kind of think about the fact that there was some differences that the Most High wanted for Avram to separate himself from, in addition to the idea of him going to the land that would in fact end up being the land of promise.
Mm-hmm. I guess it's according to the Midrash, Terah was an idol maker, manufacturer.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. Well, they have these different
That's according to the tradition.
traditions that they have, which again is something that, it's not something that we see in the Torah, but it's not something that it's a plausible.
It don't say it.
It's a plausible thing though, because of the fact that the Most High clearly instructs Avram to leave from your relatives and your father's house. This is how families live, right? We live in a society where somebody turns 18, they're out of here. They can't wait to get out the house. But the culture for these people is they all live together. Fathers and children, all of that together in one place, right? You might get maybe an adjoining house or something where your house becomes like a small village or something, but it's all like the family.
They have walls around there.
And right, it would be like a connected situation where it was shared living, right? And so when he says his father's house, it's not necessarily a singular roof necessarily, which it very well could have been, but not necessarily. But it's a single kind of collective of people, his house and his relatives. Also, there's the idea of headship. The father's house, whoever the father was, even if there was multiple fathers, there's only one father of them all, right? If a father has sons who also has sons, it's still that father's house, that grandfather's house, right? And so there's kind of an order to things, which again, verse 1 kind of leads us to believe that the ideas of the father's house, of Avram's father's house, didn't correspond with that of the Most High. And so it was necessary again for him to go. Mm-hmm. All right, so when we think about Avram and what it was that became necessary for him to do, maybe think about a few things when we look at when Yeshua comes on the scene, because there's something that we can notice when we look at Avram. We're not told a backstory. We don't know how much where Avram is in his faith at the time. We know that he exhibits faith by some fact of going out at the word of the Most High. But again, when we see the movements of Messiah, he works in a similar fashion. Let's go over to Matthew. We're coming back to Bereshit. Let's look at a few things. Matthew 4:19. What's that say? Just read 18 and 19.
It says, and Yeshua walking by the Sea of Galilee saw two brothers, Shimon and Kepha, and Andre, his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishermen. And he said to them, follow me, and I shall make you fishers of men.
And 22.
And immediately they left their nets and followed him.
Okay, interesting. So Yeshua comes by and he says, Lech, Lecha. Go out from this place where you're at and come to the place where I am. At this point, Yeshua is just kind of, stepping on the scene, right? There's a little bit of, he's created a little bit of buzz for himself. People are beginning to hear about this one from Galilee. And he comes up onto these two and says to them, follow me. And they say, okay, I'll do it. Immediately, right? Immediately they follow him. So again, we see over here this exhibition of faith, this initial thing that these people are doing when hearing the call from Elohim. In this case, is a call from Messiah for action, right? And the answer is, I'll do it, right? Matthew 9. Let's move up a couple chapters here. 9, read for us verse 9.
And Yeshua passed on from there. He saw a man called Matityahu sitting at the tax office, and he said to him, follow me. And he rose and followed him.
I mean, it's almost peculiar, right? Like he's sitting there doing his business, passing by, and somebody comes along and says, follow me. First thing somebody says, if somebody was to come by to me, like, where are we going? Right? Follow you where? Where am I gonna follow you to? Hold on, let me just take care of this here business here real quick, and then, right? I mean, think with Matthew in mind, you know, the same thing. We see the same thing over here. 20. Here, read 8 and 20 through 22.
Yeshua said to him, the foxes have holes and the birds of the heaven nests, but the son of Adam has nowhere to lay his head. And another of his top ones said to him, Master, first let me go and bury my father. And Yeshua said to him, follow me and leave the dead to bury their own dead.
Yeshua calling his people together, his disciples, those that are going to be followers of him. He just goes and sees these people. He's, of course, sees in them what they're not able to see in their own selves, obviously. And he's saying, follow me. And they're like, well, I got these things going on. My people, they just died. I gotta bury it. My father. Right? And he's saying, you know, it's almost like he's not even sympathetic for what's going on, right? He said, leave the dead to bury their own dead, right? Same thing with Matthew. Matthew's doing his business. He's at work getting them taxes for the Romans, right? He's at work. I'm at work. Hold on. I get off at 2:30. I can follow you after my shift is over, right? But Messiah is not concerned with the things that you may or may not have going on in your situation. He's saying, come and follow me. And so, and by these people doing this, is showing a picture of faith. They don't even know what he's all about all the way, right? Because if we're looking at Matthew chapter 8, Yeshua just came out really in Matthew chapter 4, right? He's just now getting things going, and right, and so they're almost blindly believing that there's something about this fellow that I need to be I need to attach myself to. Right? There's some type, we don't know what exactly, but we can say that there's some type of revelation that they've acquired, even if it was in just the fact that this man's coming around here talking about follow me, as if I should actually follow him. They're having some type of revelation that there's a hand that's calling for them to follow, and they're having a revelation that they need to align themselves with that hand that is offering to lead them. Right? Same thing we see with Avram. But let's look one last thing over here in Matthew 16 and 24.
16.
Start at let's read 24. It's fine.
Then Yeshua said to his taught ones, if anyone wishes to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake and follow me.
Okay, very good. So again, we see Yeshua puts a emphasis on his desires. He puts an emphasis on the things that are pertaining unto his will.
Mm-hmm.
Deny yourself and take up your torture stake. Offer your sacrifices. You put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and follow me in the midst of it. If you think you are ready, able, willing to follow me, deny your own personal wants and needs. Get ready for the sacrifice that's going to come and follow me. And so again, we think about Abraham, well, Avram, right? We think about Avram. What is it that he's facing with his people? He's leaving out from his homeland. He don't know where he's going. He don't know what he's getting himself into. He's moving out into this new situation, and he don't know what is to come. But he goes.
I be going to you crazy.
I know for a matter of fact that you yourself ain't going nowhere. Well, where we going? Well, what we gonna be doing? How we gonna eat?
Why you gotta put food in?
Right? How far away from the Walmart is it when we get there?
That's what we do. We gotta see cut.
What's the temperature gonna be like?
Where's the laundry?
Dude, I got my umbrella and my raincoat. Like, how am I going? What am I going? All of these things.
No.
And so but the Most High says to Avram, go. He said, Lecha, go forth from your country, from your relatives, from your father's house to this land which I will show you. Not that I have showed you. I wonder if somebody knows the tense of this word over here, which I will show you. If the translators got this thing right, because there's a difference between something that I will show you in the English and something that I have already shown you. How they translated in this part, the English part. Grab that mechanical from out of there, because there's a huge difference between something that I've already shown you. Doesn't it make it easier if I already shown you what I'm gonna do, and then for you to do it, it's not that big of a deal. I know where I'm going to. I'm going over here to this Canaan. It's nice over there. Canaan, the people aren't that bad over there. in the land of Canaan, I'll go there, no problem. But if it's some place that I will show you, that I haven't shown you yet, there's so many questions involved in the situation, right? But again, when we see this, we're seeing faith in operation. We're seeing faith in operation when we see this. Here, let me see. Okay, the mechanical has the same way. I will make see you. I will make you see. And so it's something that again is something that is yet to be. So again, this is faith. It takes faith. It takes faith. The first thing that we see from Avram, who we know of as the father of our faith, the first thing we see from Avram actually is faith. Let's look at some more of these scriptures over here. What happens when we look at Romans in 10 and 17? Read for us verse 17. What did I say?
So then belief comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of Elohim.
Faith actually comes by hearing. What is it that you're hearing? The word of Elohim. Okay, something that we had to think about when we think about this idea of the word of Elohim, this thing that's coming forth that you have faith in, there's revelation involved in it. Right? And again, so when we think about the root of the word, the phrase Lech Lecha, which is halach, which inside of that is revelation. The revelation that leads to the leading hand. There's revelation involved, and so when we really hear from the Most High, when His words take effect on our hearts and on our minds, the byproduct of that is action. Because when we think about faith, again, it's interesting that the scriptures version uses the translation of they translate the word pistis as belief. Only because when we think about belief, I think about something that's going on in my mind. I think of something that's kind of that I can't touch, that I can't feel. Non-corporal, something that's just a mental situation. But it's important for us, I think, to be able to understand all that's involved in like a true faith, because when we think about even what the verse is saying over here, talking about the idea of this faith that you gain from hearing the word of Elohim, it's not, even though you've been here. Let's look at this real quick. Let's look at this because, hold on. This word pistis, even though the word means belief or persuasion or credence or conviction, even though the idea of faith or believing has the idea of being persuaded of a thing, there's not necessarily persuading that happened, because we didn't see no persuading happen. The Most High didn't say, if you go over here, then I'll do all of these things. He said, go to this land that I'll show you. Now, later he's going to say what's going to happen when you get over there. But the first thing that he says is for him to leave his family, his father's house, into this land that I'll show you. Go. But he's not like pleading with Avram. He's not giving him all of the reasons why he needs to listen to him. He's not persuading him, right? If you watch a commercial persuades you, buy this product because it's so nice. It's better than all the other ones, right? There's persuasive speech involved. And so when we think about the idea of faith or belief that is speaking to us about over here, we're talking about the result, right? You've been persuaded. I can't compete with you, child. We're talking about the result of being persuaded, not necessarily persuasion, right? But you've already been persuaded, right? You've come to a thought in your mind, which is you won't turn back from it. Nobody can tell me that well, I'm not gonna do no commercials, but nobody could tell me that these cups that I buy, that I spend good money on, that there's any better product, because I've been persuaded. You could even try to tell me about some cups that you use, and I'm going to tell you why you're wrong about it. Because in my mind, I've been persuaded, like I can't turn back. And so when we think about this idea of what Paul is talking about in terms of the idea of your faith coming from hearing the word of Elohim, something happens when the word of Elohim gets inside of your heart and your mind, where you know that what's being said is true. And so Avraham, he knew that he was supposed to do what the Most High said, and therefore he went out and did it. And it didn't matter that he was leaving his family. It didn't matter that he didn't know where he was going. It didn't matter that he was going into no man's land, because he had got to the place of I don't know why you had to tell my secret. He got to the place of having faith in the Most High, and he acted upon it. All right, we're gonna go back, but not just right now. Let's go look at some other things over here. Are we gonna get to 13? I don't even know. We can't get past the first verse, right? Yeah. Read 1 through 3.
And belief is the substance of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen. For by this the elders obtained witness. By belief we understand that the ages were prepared by the word of Elohim, so that what is seen was not made of what is visible.
What is seen is not made of what is visible. So the things that you're able to see don't necessarily have anything to do with it's not connected necessarily to your reasoning. When Yeshua came and went past his disciples and just called them, reason didn't cause for them to follow after him. Something happened inside of their heart and their mind that said, I should do this. But they probably did, though, have some positive expectation of a thing happening as a result of the following. So therefore they did it.
Some people was just in the middle of doing what they was doing.
They was in the middle of what they was doing. So they had to have something inside of them that caused them to have some positive expectation to go forward. They thought inside of their minds, well, going with him got to be better than this. So I'll just go. Right? But that's the same thing that we see over in Hebrews 11:1, right? The faith is the substance of what is expected, the proof of what is not seen. They didn't know what they was going to see, although they was going with the expectations that they probably would see something that was worth seeing. Same thing when we think about Avram. Oh, speaking of Avram, let's just drop down. Read verses 8 through 10.
By belief, Abraham obeyed.
By faith. That word is faith. Go ahead.
Abraham obeyed when he was called to go out to the place which he was about to receive as an inheritance. And he went out not knowing where he was going. By belief, he sojourned in the land of promise as a stranger, dwelling in tents with Yitzhak and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking for the city having foundations, whose builder and maker is Elohim.
They talk about Avram, but then they talking about Yitzhak and Yaakov. That didn't even come yet. They was still just a twinkle in his eye at this time, right? But he's dwelling in tents based on faith that he has in Messiah. And so, when we think about, let's go back over to Bereshit. When we think about faith, and we think about what we see exhibited by Avram, even though it don't even use the word faith over here, we understand that this is in fact faith, because he's going out into these places unknown, only based on the word of the Most High, knowing that the Most High is not going to cause him to go into a place that is, going to be something that's bad for him. And so when we think about faith, for our own selves, Avram, being the picture of faith for us, there's things that we learn from when we just look at the actions of Avram. At some point, he got to the place where he said, yes, I will follow you. Yes, I will go where you're asking me to go. And there's no thing that's going to cause me to not go. You talk to people and they have all of these hangups. I believe in the Most High, but I got some things I got to take care of before I can give them my whole situation. I mean, that's double talk, because you don't believe, obviously, or you wouldn't put those things before the Most High.
Normally, those people never come.
Those people never come because they never get those things taken care of.
Or they say, once I live my life,
I mean, they not. People don't say that, but that's what they're doing. Right? When you worked out all of the things you did, all of the debauchery that you could do, now I'm ready. But the thing is that scriptures say that that fear is the beginning of the fear of Yahweh is the beginning of knowledge. It's the beginning of wisdom. We have to get to the place where we're able to even understand who the Most High is before we're able to really walk in faith. Because before that, why? Who is he? Like, if you don't know that just very baseline, who is he? If you don't understand that he is, in fact, creator and sustainer of all things, then that's when you can sit up there and say, well, I got to do this first. Because you're not giving him his proper respect and his dues, what he's owed. If you treated him like what he is, then you would do everything in your power to be on the right side of things. And we see that Avram, obviously, he must have had this understanding, because that's what he did. He didn't allow for his personal relationships, his situation, to cause him or deter him from doing what the Most High said do. And so he's a perfect picture of what our life in the Most High ends up looking like. Because the Most High says to us, go out from your land. Go out from all of your things that you're familiar with. Go out from all of your relatives who are not actually following after me. Go away from this place where the ones that are over top of you are living a life that's contrary to me, and go to this place that I am getting ready to show you. The Most High wants to move us into our as he done with Moses, Avram over here. He wants to move us into our promise if we would only just allow the Most High to do what we should know that he's able to do. We're looking at things in our personal situations and our own feeble understandings and saying, well, I can't just stop doing this or that. What about this? I can't just get up and just stop being with these people, because how am I going to do X, Y, and Z? But we have to be able to be in a place where we put the words and the will of the Most High first and do what it is that he is calling for us to do. And that's what he did over here with Avram.
I was gonna say that it's not like geographic changes was a thing back then, so there wasn't any phones and mail and anything he was like really detaching himself from his father's household.
I know. It really was a separation. It really
they
was.
Might never have seen each other again.
It really was a separation. Like, we could go somewhere and all we got to do is pick up a phone. All we got to do is sit up here and FaceTime somebody. I could see you right over there. I could jump in my car. I could drive across town. But if you live in a situation where, if I go somewhere that's like, Yellowstone, how far away is that in miles? It took us a few hours to fly over there. But imagine being that far away without the ability to communicate with somebody else.
We was like that though.
We was just an hour and 15 minutes away, and in some places we didn't have any phone service. But when you think about it in that regard, in terms of the ability to stay connected with, the thing that you leave behind, it really gives you an interesting perspective, because that's what the Most High actually is calling for you as to some degree to do, to when he calls for his people to be set apart, when he calls for his people to be separate, it's a changing of our influence. It's a changing of what it is that influences us, and these the leading powers that exist in the world, right? And so when we think about the idea of separation from the world, separation from our physical families that are on the outside, when we separate from all the things that cause us to move in a different direction than what the Most High is calling for us to be doing, we can't look at those things and think that those things are greater than the Most High, because they're obviously not. All right, let's look up what. Yeah, when we think about the idea of the pressures that that we have from our physical family, it's an interesting dynamic. But at the end of the day, it's like, the Most High, when He says that He don't want you to have no other gods before me. He don't want you to have any mighty ones before me.
Mm-hmm.
He don't want you to have anything that's going to cause you to be doing a thing that's greater than His ability to cause you to do a thing. And so we turn our family members into idols, and we say, well, I want to make sure that I'm pleasing to these people, to my family, to my loved ones, even though I know that the Most High will have for me to be doing X, Y, and Z. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting when we look at Genesis 12 and 1 that we can know without a shadow of a doubt that Avram, he did not do that. He did not allow for whatever possibly could have came about. We know that he followed after the Most High only, and didn't allow for there to be any influence that was greater than his. Read for us over here Deuteronomy 32 and 4.
The rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are right ruling, an L of truth, and without unrighteousness. Righteous and straight is he.
When we think about who the Most High is, we're able to be comfortable in putting all of our trust in the Most High because of the fact that all of his ways are in fact perfect. All his ways are right ruling. He actually is the Elohim of truth, and he's without unrighteousness. And so I'm able to be comfortable in the fact that I'm able to follow after him. So when you know that the Most High is saying for you to follow after him, you can know that he's not leading you into a place of danger, even though it may be an uncomfortable place. Because Messiah said, take up your torture stake and follow me. So even though I know that he's probably taking me somewhere that's uncomfortable, there's pain over there. There's some things over there that I won't physically like. I'm still able to go. And I know that he's going to keep me safe.
Yeah, he's not going to lead you astray.
He's not going to lead me astray. He might lead me into a place that I don't necessarily want to be in. 100% he might do that. However, he's not going to lead me astray. Let's look at one more verse here before we go back. Let's go look at the wisdom book here, chapter 3, verse 9.
Oh, I don't have this on my phone. It says, "They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth, and such as be faithful in love shall abide with him. For grace and mercy is to his saints, and he hath care for his elect."
Yes. And so, again, when we think about the idea of walking in faith, we have a particular understanding within us to know that when we follow after the Most High, he only has our interests, our best interests at hand. And even though the places where he might take us may be physically uncomfortable at times, all of that is for a purpose. When we think about Israel going into the wilderness, Israel had to go through the wilderness experience to be humbled and proved. Israel had to go through the wilderness experience in order to cause Israel to be the people that the Most High had planned for them to be. And so, these things, when we look at them from a right perspective, help us to understand that the Most High is trying us for our good. All right, let's go back over to chapter 12 and think about now what the Most High says that he will do for Avram. And read again verses 2 and 3 over here.
"And I will make of thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed."
All right, very good. So, again, we think about the idea of being persuaded, and why I'm saying that the Most High didn't have to persuade Avram, that he already had to have a particular understanding in his mind in order to go and do what it was that the Most High has said. I'm saying that because somebody could right now come to the door right now and begin to speak to me about something that they're trying to sell me, let's say, on today. Now, I don't care what that thing is. On Shabbat, I'm not buying it. And so they could tell me all of the wonderful things that they have inside of their bag, inside of their briefcase, or whatever it is that they have to give me. And there's nothing that they can say because I'm persuaded that I'm not buying anything today, because I have a particular conviction inside of me. And so already, in order for Avram to even believe that it would be that these words are even true in verse 2 and 3, like he has to beforehand have a particular understanding that the Most High saying that I'm going to be this and that I'm going to be that I'm going to be a blessing, that the people are going to be blessed because of me. He has to already have a particular understanding inside of him to even believe what this is that's being said. And so again, we see Avraham dealing with giving us a picture of faith. And so when we look over here, we see the beginnings of what we know of as the conditions, or the benefits of the Abrahamic covenant.
Mhm.
We look at the scriptures, the scriptures as a whole. We look at it kind of, from a perspective of a whole. It's a book really of covenants.
Hmm.
Right. And to this point, we see we've seen two major covenants. We've seen the Noahic covenant. Here, let's just go back and look. Chapter 9. Here, read verse 11.
And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth.
Okay, very good. So we see that the Most High establishes a covenant with Noah that the world benefits from, the whole earth benefits from, with the idea of not cutting off the earth again by Okay, so when we think about the beginnings of these covenants that the Most High is making with man, we're able to see that the Most High does in fact make these covenants, these promises, these compacts that he makes with his people. And so when we look over here at Genesis chapter 12, where he's making this covenant, which by the way is a foundation for the covenant that we are in currently. It's the foundation for it, right? It begins with the Abrahamic covenant, where he says that I will make thee a great nation, I will bless thee, I will make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. We see later on with the Mosaic covenant, we see the inside of the Mosaic covenant, there's a priestly covenant. Here, let's look at some of these covenants. Let's look at Exodus 19. Exodus 19 and 5 and 6. Oh, that's Genesis. Read 3, 5, and 6.
Now, therefore, if ye will obey my voice, indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel.
Okay, at this point, we already dealing with Israel, right? Well, we're already dealing with the ones who benefit from or connected to the Abrahamic covenant, right? He's keeping this covenant that he's made with Israel because of what he said he was going to do with Abraham, right? And so beyond that, there's a priestly covenant where he said there's going to be this people and you'll be priests forever. There's a Davidic covenant where he said there's going to be a line of kings from David forever, perpetually. And then all the way down to the new covenant that said that he's going to pour his spirit out to his people and draw his people back to himself. But the foundations of that of all of that is over here in Bereshit chapter 12, where he's saying that he's going to make you, Avram, a great nation. That's Israel. And I will bless you and make thy name great, and you'll be a blessing.
Mm.
And he said, and in thee, who's going to end up being Israel, the ones that the benefactors of the Abrahamic covenant, the benefactors, it says, in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed.
Mm.
And so everybody, all the people in the earth, is going to be blessed based on what it is that comes about through the benefactors of the Abrahamic covenant.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's keep on going over here. Because again, when we think about how this covenant is realized, understanding that the thing that Yeshua, the thing the thing that I always find interesting is that when we talk about the new covenant, what it is that Yeshua has done for us, sometimes people talk about the new covenant, especially mainstream Christian thought process. This new covenant is something that's not connected to, like, it's its own separate thing. But really, these things are all built on each other, right? We have the foundation here, this promise that's given to Abraham, but the way in which this covenant is realized is by understanding what it is that Yeshua has done for us, right? When we know what it is that Yeshua actually did in his life, in the work that he did, we're able to see that he is the way that all the families of the earth have in fact been blessed, is through the work of Messiah. And none of this could have been done without the work that Yeshua has done. And so the when we look and see what how these things work together with each other, this is the proof that we see a connection between all of these things, right? All right, let's look over here. Oh, let's look at Galatians 3:26. Read Galatians 3:26.
Galatians
26. Oh, hold on a second. Start reading at verse 26.
26 says, "For you are all sons of Elohim through belief in Messiah Yeshua. For as many of you as were immersed into Messiah have put on Messiah. There is not Yehudi nor Greek. There is not slave nor free. There is not male and female, for you are all one in Messiah Yeshua. And if you are of Messiah, then you are a seed of Abraham and heirs according to promise."
Heirs according to the promise that he gave back to Abraham. Heirs to the promise, the benefactors of the promise that he gave all the way back to Avram. And so again, this is the way that all of the families of the earth are blessed through the fact that Messiah has come to cause humanity to be able to be restored to its original state, which is in constant communion with the Most High.
Mhm.
And so, again, when we look at going back to Genesis, when we go back to Genesis chapter 12, we go back to Genesis chapter 12 and see again here the Most High, he creates this covenant with Avram, and again he is for us a picture of faith, right? And faith again is about action, right? It's not just about something that is going on inside of your mind, but it's something that deals with action. It's proof. It's proof that this internal thing is in fact being manifest when it turns into this physical action, right? And so that's what we see with Avram. And so we get down to verse 4. So Avram left. So he left as Yahweh had commanded him, right? He heard the words of the Most High and he left. He knew that what he was supposed to be doing, what he decided to do, he did as a result of his obedience and faith to the Most High. Okay? All right, let's look at some more of this chapter over here. Let's go down to one of the interesting parts, which we see is interesting with Avram, that Avram, then his faith is tested. Avram's faith is tested. And so it goes along with what we see with what Yeshua speaks about in terms of picking up your torture stick, right? Because the Most High said, go to this place where I'll take you. And so if you're going on this journey, you've embarked upon this mission given to you by the Most High, you have to deal with the things that are going to happen during. And so if the Most High says to me, get up and go to a particular place, and I know it's the Most High speaking to me, and I get up and go, and then some things happen in the middle. Do those things that happen in the middle cause me to rethink if the Most High sent me or not? Obviously, with what Avram was about to be facing over here, he's able to keep moving forward with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's some things that we see with Avram that I think kind of show the infancy, I would say, of his faith. Let's look at a few of these things over here. First, let's talk about read again 4 and 5.
So Abram left, and Yahweh commanded him, as Yahweh had commanded him. And Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he set out for Haran. And Abram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the beings whom they had acquired in Haran. And they set out for the land of Canaan, and they came to the land of Canaan.
Okay, very good. So we have that. They go and do that. And drop down to drop down to 12 and 13.
And it shall be when the Mitzrites see you, that they shall say, "This is his wife," and they shall kill me, but let you live. Please say, "You are my sister," so that it shall be well with me for your sake, and my life be spared because of you.
Okay, very good. So we have this thing going on here with Avram and his wife, who is his sister. We cannot doubt the word of Yah, even when facing adversity during the journey. Yes, very good. I mean, especially during the journey, right? Especially during the journey. And so when we look at this situation with Avram and his wife, Sarai, he has this plan. He has this plan that is interesting because he anticipates coming in contact with the people in Egypt, who he knows when they see him and his beautiful wife Sarai that they're going to want her because she was so beautiful. And not only that, so he still goes. He still goes, but he makes provision and says, if this happens, I don't want to die, so we'll just say that you're my wife. I mean, my sister. But is he lying though? Is he lying though? Is he lying to save his own life? Is it necessary for him to come up with this story in order to continue this journey that the Most High placed him on? Is it necessary for him to come up with this story?
Scheme.
It is a kind of a scheme to continue along the path that the Most High put him on. The Most High put him on the path. And so why then does he have to come up with this story? Is this what the Most High calls for us to do? Like he Avram, inside of his wisdom, his physical wisdom, inside the physical wisdom of Avram, he thought that it was necessary for him to come up with this story. I think whether or not it's the truth, it doesn't make it better. I'm not sure if it does. Like if it's a lie, or if she really is somehow his sister and his wife. I don't know if it's still something that he was supposed to have done in terms of giving up his wife to the people to save his own life. When The Most High is the one who sent him on the journey in the first place. If the Most High has ordered our steps, if he's ordered our steps, we should expect for something to happen that's going to be that's going to include great adversity, right? We should expect adversity, but we should also expect the Most High providing a way for us to get through it. Do we think that the Most High said, "Well, tell them that Sarai is your sister"? Because we don't know, we don't have any idea what those heathens was going to do with her, what they did or what they could potentially have done. What was you going to say?
That just based off of how he goes to get Lot later, seems like he's looking at his power compared to their power.
You think it was a strategic move?
Well, it's a carnal move because he knows that he don't have the manpower to defend. He knows it's like he knows that they both is gonna go down. And
I know, but the reason why I don't
carnal,
accept that is because the reason why that I don't accept that is because when you think about him and his party, which I'd have to double check, but for some reason I think his party involved like 300 and something people. I don't know why I think that.
Because that's probably the number whenever he went to go get Lech.
I have to double check, right? But the thing is that the amount of people that he went into that place to battle probably would have been smaller than what the people that was there.
Yes.
It would have been smaller because you're dealing with several groups of people that are dealing in that place. So he goes in literally with a small band, this little troop of people.
He probably figured after dealing with these people that he had to train them.
I feel like they was trained though. And so the point is that I'm saying at that moment, he was not giving the Most High his proper due.
No, he was not.
Because the Most High said what he was going to do for him. And so all he had to do from that point forward was just to continue to trust in the Most High. And so here, he's not trusting in the Most High. He's thinking about his own physical abilities, which, in trusting in Most High, the Most High is always going to deal with what you have to offer, and he's gonna bless that. And so he's able to later, we see, make his small army defeat nations. But why then? Well, that didn't happen yet. He don't see that. But we see here, I'm saying that there's no way that this thing that he's doing is something that the Most High said for him to do. It's only just a picture of the infancy of his faith. You say here, Avram seems to know how the people of he knows exactly how the people are. And it's like he makes this plan ahead of time, and it comes to pass.
He knew
what he thought they was going to do was exactly what they did. I mean, if he knew all of that, I feel like he should have just went somewhere else. or exhibited more faith. And so, from a traditional standpoint, actually, I'm saying, first of all, that it doesn't matter to me whether Sarai was his actual sister and his wife. Either way, I feel like it was something that I don't think he should have did that. I don't think he should have came up with that plan. I feel like it was a terrible plan, whether it was true or if it wasn't true. I think that we see in the scriptures when people do things that could be considered wrong in order to reach a right end, which this very well could have been, or where they're using something as slightly deceiving, not necessarily wrong, but for the same purposes. And so I want to look at something here real quick, because when we look at, say, for instance, when we look at Genesis 11, we look at the previous chapter. It's interesting here. Previous chapter, Genesis 11, read verse 29.
And Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Yiscah.
Okay, very good. And so when we look at okay, now Genesis 12 says that Avram took Sarah, his wife, and Lot, his nephew, and all their possessions, and the persons which they had acquired in Haran. And what we just looked at in Genesis 11 says you have Avram and Nahor, who took wives. Avram's wife Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Yiscah. Now, this person Yiscah is understood to be the sister of Lot. The sister of Lot. And so, interestingly, when you look at some of the things that the traditionalists speak about, they say that Yishka is actually Sarai, and saying that Lot and Sarah are siblings, his niece, Avram's niece. And so, because of the fact that we see where places like Genesis 14 and 16, what's that say?
So he brought back all the goods and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the woman and the people.
Okay, very good. So we see over here where he calls Lot his brother, but Lot is actually his nephew. Mm-hmm. And so, saying that Sarai, who actually could be his niece, we see he calls his nephew, his sister, where she's a closely related relative that he marries.
But that's not the primary relationship.
Which is it? What do you mean?
Being his sister wouldn't be the primary relationship.
No, it would be his wife.
Yeah.
It would be his wife.
Because being a sister, that would mean that she would be eligible
That
to
would be
marry
his
somebody
man.
else. But being his wife means that she's not eligible.
So that's why I'm saying now, even if you're able to, tradition, Josephus goes through some other things where he's basing it also off of the traditions that Yishka is in fact Sarah, the sibling of Lot and the wife of Avram. But however, I'm still saying that even if what he's saying is true in terms of it being a close relative, it don't trump the fact that it is his wife. And so if it was his niece, if it was his sister, she at some point became his wife. And so he's basically says, when this is my sister, he's saying that she isn't my wife. She's available. And
Gives her away.
and so again, this is why I'm saying that it doesn't matter whether he's lying or not in terms of their former relationship, because their current relationship is it supersedes whatever that was. And so again, when we look at what it is that Avram is doing over here, it helps us again to see that. I think it also helps us to see that Avram is not a superhero, right? Avram is not a superhero. He's a regular man, right? And he's able to make mistakes, and we see his mistakes. This is a mistake. This is a mistake that Avram made. It's not even debatable. It's a mistake that he made. Obvious. It's so obvious that this is a mistake that he made, right? But again, what we're able to see with the mistake that he made is humanity, which I think is actually important, because we see Avram, the father of our faith, the one who gives us the initial example of walking not by sight, not by power, not by might, but the power of the Ruach HaKodesh. He himself is this flawed individual who we see his arc of growth. We see how he made his initial connection to proclamation of obedience to the Most High, and we see where there were some things that caused him to waver a bit in terms of his persuadedness. Right? He didn't start going after following after other gods in terms of his wavering, but he wavered in faith. He wavered in faith because the Most High said that he was sending him on this journey, and by the Most High saying that, he should have had the understanding that the Most High was going to direct him through this journey and protect him and get him through it. And so his inability to be able to trust in the Most High in all of these situations, again, just shows his humanity, and his infancy, as I said, in his faith.
He just had to learn the ropes.
He had to learn, right? He had to learn, and this was an obvious lesson that he had to go through. We'll see if he learned his lesson. Spoiler alert, he don't learn the lesson. But again, it helps us to be able to see that, the Most High is not putting us out here on this journey for us to have this thing where we're walking through meadows of flowers and fairy tales and unicorns and hearts and feathers and beautiful things, right? It's there's hard things that we have to go through. However, the Most High is looking for us to be able to lean on Him and trust in Him to be able to get us through these things, right? And so again, there's divine intervention is involved over here. Avrami made a bad decision, and it's like the Most High had to step in. He had to step in and save him, right? If we look down at 17, read 17 again.
But Yahweh plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, of Abram's wife.
The Most High had to step in, right? And so that's another reason why we can able to see that Avram, he erred right there, right? Where the Most High had to come back and say, hold on, this if I just don't do nothing, this ain't gonna go right. Right? He had to step in because of the misstep that Avram makes over here. Let's see. Let's see what we have over here. Comments. Are we also seeing Sarai being used as Avram's as a kenegdo in this moment? He had to trust in her to say to her to do this while Yah intervened with Pharaoh to save his life. He would have been killed. Well, she did, she did what her husband said for her to do. She, that was her Lord, and she did his bidding, right? She did what her Lord told for her to do. I think that I really think that he literally tempted the Most High over here. He really put the Most High in the position where he had to do something, right? Where I feel like, it didn't have to be like that. But absolutely, Sarai, she just went on ahead. She played her position and then she did what she was supposed to have done. You can't say anything about her part in it because she just was listening to her husband. It's another thing when you think about the idea of roles and things. I want to say that it was wrong. This whole situation, like he was leading her in a wrong way, but she still followed. Like she probably could have, made a valid argument as to why she didn't want to do what he was saying because of the fact that it was something that was outside of the will of the Most High. But she did the thing because her Lord said for her to do it. Now this should be a lesson for you ladies. It's not always about right and wrong, obviously, because this obviously was wrong. But she is blessed in following after her husband in doing the thing that's obviously wrong. If she technically was the sister of Avram, I'm saying that it was a lie to not say that she was his wife.
Make that clear.
And so this thing that they're doing that part is
I
wrong.
mean, how beautiful was she?
She must have been so
Yeah,
beautiful.
she was old.
She was so, I know, but when you think, how long did Abraham even live? Though? How long did he live?
Black don't crack as well, Mom. So
She was obviously beautiful, so beautiful that these people wasn't able to not notice her and then take her.
He should put a veil over her
He
face.
should have covered her up, but they probably go around and look at under the veil. They probably go around, send their people out,
Yes.
go out and find me the most beautiful woman so that I can add them to my harem. They probably had instructions to do so. So I don't think it matters if she had a veil or not. That's what happened. But I'm saying all that just to say that, we have to be able to look at this and know that, not to know that we're going to do the wrong thing, knowing that the Most High is going to come and save the situation, because he couldn't have known that, right? If he knows that already, he could have just rolled the dice. Then he could have just cast lots and just went in there and said, "Yeah, that's my wife. What you gonna do?" Like, I feel like I don't know what the difference is. Either way, there's a situation that's caused that you have to trust in the Most High to get through. And so I feel like, he just he just did it wrong. He did a wrong thing.
Sorry about the baby.
Let's see. It's also foreshadows Egypt being plagued by holding Israel, Yahweh's wife, captive. Oh yes, that's an excellent thought. When you think about the scriptures as a whole, again, while we see these cycles, right, things that happen again and again in different ways. And that's that's a way that we're able to, I feel like that's a way that we're able to know that this word is proof, that we're able to know that this word is in fact true, right? Because we see these things happening again and again cyclically, in different ways, right? Right, that's an excellent point over there. But again, there's I feel like there's no excuse for what he's done. But the thing about the Most High is that, he'll put you through a situation and you'll fail, and he'll rescue you, and then he'll bring back that same situation again to see how you fare. And that's kind of, again, that's what we should expect in life, right? The master, the Most High, wants for us to win these little battles that he puts in front of us, right? He wants for us to succeed. He wants for us to conquer, adversity when it comes. And sometimes, like Avram, we failed the test. But we have to keep going. And I think that the positive, looking at Avram, he wanted to stay the course. He wanted to continue in his journey. But he just wasn't doing it right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's drop down here. Let's see here. Okay. All right. Let's go over to let's go over to hit a few points over in 13 before we close. Okay, so we see over here in chapter 13 where the people of Lot's people and Avram's people, there's too much, right? There's too much. There's so many people that they can't get along. There's things that you know humanity that happens, and they have to separate. I think it's interesting the way in which we see how actually the land is chosen, right? And it seems it seems like it just happenstance, but we know that the Most High's hand is always in this thing. So if we look down in verse 10, Avram says, okay, we're gonna separate. We ain't gonna be together. These people can't act right. He said, you look to the left, you look to the right. If you go right, I'm gonna go left. Right? When you choose, he put the power in Lot's hands. He said, you choose. Whichever way you think that I'm supposed to go, you want to go, he gave him the choice. You choose. And you can have it. That's how he felt about his nephew, Lot, right? And then so Lot lifted up his hands and he I feel like Lot chose the best parts. He looked forth and he said, I want that over there. It's well watered everywhere. He said it's well watered everywhere. That's the best part. I'll take that part. Right? And so they separate. And he goes off and he said, read again verse 14.
Verse 14 says, and after Lot had separated from him, Yahweh said to Abram, now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward.
15.
For all the land which you see, I shall give to you and your seed forever.
Okay, so we see over here, basically Lot chooses the land that he wanted. And then Avram, he gets what's left, right? But then the Most High says, this is the land, right? He said, look to the north, look to the south, look to the east, look to the west. Everything that you could see is yours forever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like when we see there's a connection between what Lot chooses or doesn't choose and what Avram just gets just by default, and the Most High affirming it. Like the Most High could have said, well, wait, what I actually wanted for you to have is the one that Lot had chose. So he chose that, but maybe y'all just switch, and then that could be the land that I give to you and your seed forever. But we see that the Most High's divine providence actually happens through the actions of man. And so I just thought that was interesting because, we think that we're so much in control of things. We think that we have so much influence on, the this and the that of things, when in fact, the Most High is the creator and sustainer of all things. He is allowing for things to happen that brings about his will, his desires are coming about in spite of our interjections and the things that we're doing.
Even not to cut you
Go
off.
ahead.
I don't know if you hit this example, but with Pharaoh,
Mhm.
he said that he hardened his heart.
Mhm.
Pharaoh probably could have let it go before he had those plagues come on him, but the Most High said he hardened his heart. He wanted that stuff to happen.
Yeah, for his purposes.
Mhm.
And so we always have to think about the fact that the Most High's will is a divine will. It's a divine will, and his ways are going to always prevail. Another thing to think about when we think about the kind of the choosing of the lands, you're dealing with this whole issue of the people in Sodom, right? If we go down and look at, let's see, read again verses 12 and 13.
Abram dwelling in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelling in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent as far as Sidon. But the men of Sidon, is that Sodom?
Yeah,
Sodom?
yeah.
Okay, Sodom were evil and sinned against before Yahweh exceedingly so.
Okay, very good. So another thing is that when Lot looks over and he sees this land that had water, places of water, it was well watered everywhere. When he sees that, what he doesn't see is the fact that you have these people, the people of Sodom, and the fact that these people are evil, and they have sinned before Yahweh exceedingly, right? And so I think that it's also something to say about the fact that Lot, he was looking at, he didn't really know what was over there. He saw this beautiful land, and he saw this thing that that made this thing attractive to him. However, it was filled with sin and iniquity on the inside. And so it's interesting. It kind of gives us kind of an interesting kind of a lesson, when we look at this, things, they may look great to the eye. Is something that is just only beautiful. From the eye is something that is it's attractive. It's this thing that's desired. But inside of that beautiful desired thing is wickedness and evil. And I want to say that the Most High didn't want Avram to be over there.
Yeah.
I want to say that the Most High didn't want for Avram to be over there. And his divine will came to pass. That's what we see happen, right? And so it's interesting the turn of events that we'll see, but again, it's like we see thinking about the Most High and the foundations that are being laid, which that's what this is. When we think about Avram, these are the foundations of his people, right? And so it's almost like the Most High, he's made a plan. He has a plan, and he's working out the plan. Right? He has Avram in the perfect situation. There's things that come about that could potentially alter the plan. So he comes in and he fixes it. Right? He don't allow for Sarai taken by these Egyptians. He plagues the people, right, to protect Sarai, right, who's the mother of Israel, right? Israel comes through her, right? If there's no seed, I mean, theoretically, you could say that he could have just had another wife, right? But the people that come after, that come through her, you get DNA from your mother and your father, and so whatever it is that made those people that came after who they were, they got half of that from Sarai, and so he preserves that by intervening into the situation. And so, we're able to see kind of this preservation of the Most High people, the Most High's people, as the foundation for the people is being laid over here. Seems Lot was drawn to the land by the lust of the eyes. Yes, it's very interesting thought. That's exactly, it seems, what it was. It looked beautiful, right? It looked like a place that he should be. Typically, that's what we do when given the choice. Of course, I'm going to take the best looking thing. Why not? Why would I take the thing that don't look as nice? If I get the choice to choose, I'm going to choose the nice one. And again, when we think about scriptures that we read where faith is not by sight, right? And so Avram, he didn't even care, right? He took his stake out of the game. He said, "You choose," right? And so in that regard, he's taking whatever comes, which he's kind of leading back to this idea of being this father of faith, right? And some things he excels, and some things he doesn't, right? But in this case, he's like, "I'll take whatever comes." That's what he was on when he left. I'll take whatever comes. And so he gets back to that a little bit and says, you choose. And Lot, I want this beautiful thing. But for him, this was almost his demise. Going after this thing that was the beautiful thing. If Avram, we didn't talk about this, if Avram don't come, it's curtains for him. It's curtains, right? Okay, so what's this say? Interesting enough, his wife is drawn back to it too. Oh, right, Lot's wife, yeah. Yeah. And so it's interesting. It's interesting, the idea of, I was talking about this this week with someone, about, kind of end with this thought here. Talking about this this week about kind of the state of humanity now. And this person I was speaking with was talking about, it's so bad it must be demonic. Right? When you look at the way that these people behave, they must be possessed by demons, because it's just so unnatural. It's just so gross that this can't be the way that the worst human behaves. And I wasn't in total disagreement with the thought, but at the same time, just adding to the thought, I think that what these spiritual forces do in us is amplify that which is already there.
Mhm.
You know, we seek after things for selfish desires. Um, you know, the carnality, our flesh, our desires inside of us are things that are literally inside of us. And they may be amplified by, you know, demons, you know, evil forces, maybe something that's amplifying it, but it's doing this, just that. It's amplifying something that's already there. Um, and so until we're able to connect to the source, until we're able to connect to the Most High, until we're able to accept the gift that Yeshua HaMashiach has provided for us, we live in this state of deterioration
Mhm.
where, you know, our heart just continues to be increasingly wicked.
Mhm.
And, you know, the further you are from the light, the more you become comfortable in darkness, right? And so if you don't have any idea of what it's like to be in the light, you know, you don't have any problem with walking around in this state of darkness where the things that you're doing seem, you know, they're acceptable to a degree for you. And so, you know, but it all begins with these things that in your mind become things that you desire, these physical things, the things that you're able to see and touch and feel and smell and taste, you know, wanting to be attached to those things and desiring those things. We have to be like Avram, where the things that lead us and guide us is the Most High, and where, you know, I've never seen the Most High, right? I've never touched him, right? Because he's spirit, right? He is spirit, right? And so I'm able to know that he is because he's able to work inside of me, right? And you know, and supersede this physical realm.
Mhm.
And so it's interesting when we look at, you know, the story of Avram, where we have these different points where, you know, he's excelling in the things of the spirit, or, you know, or if he's even showing us some of his flaws and faults, where some of his carnality kind of raises up to the top. But we have to be able to, just as anything else in the Torah, be able to look at this thing, um, you know, as a teaching tool to help us to be able to move about in our everyday lives, and know that, you know, the only way that we're able to uh, live in this place, you know, that we are in, is by the strength and the power that the Most High provides for us. He set us on this path. He's not going to leave us um, in a place where we're not able to finish the task that He's put before us. Okay, so does anyone have any last questions, comments about either chapter 12 or 13 before we are done today?
I mean, I think about Lot. I think about someone who followed Abraham, but he didn't have the same revelation or vision that Abraham had.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that, that becomes evident the more we learn from Lot.
Mhm.
Um, he had a portion of the kind of he knew he knew that it was right. But it doesn't seem like he was convinced in his heart to the same degree, at least. He understands. We'll see later that he understands the wickedness of the people after he's there, but not enough
To get out of
to not want to be
Separate.
over there.
Right. Not like to separate.
And so it's like you're able to see where he's kind of like a fence rider, to a degree. But I don't want to talk too much about that. But just at the surface from here, as we look, we're able to see, even when we look at verse 10 of 13, where it says Lot lifted up his eyes and saw, right? When we just was talking about faith where it's not by sight, right? And so he's dealing with the beauty and the things that he's able to physically see, and not understanding that his eyes lies. That's bars right there. Somebody could do something with that, right? But that's the point, right? Where we can never look at a thing and say, what that thing is just based on looking. We have to be able to seek to see what's beneath the surface, and that's something that the Most High gives us, that as far as in inspiration gives us that, in terms of those people being wicked, but we don't see the manifestation of that until later, right? We know that because we're hearing the story,
Right.
but he don't know it till he goes down in there and finds out. But again, it gives us that lesson to, we in all things we should seek to know what those underlining things are, because something can be beautiful on the outside and be literally dead on the inside.
That's crazy. I had a listening to this lecture this week at work, and it basically went into how just what you said, looking at things from the outer appearance, and I always done this in my life too. It's like when you see things, the greatest question on the planet Earth is why. There's nothing like you can get to the bottom of everything with why. So it's like, if something's created, why was it created? And then why did you do that? And you can, to me, it's like whatever a person does, their inspiration, which is the spirit that guides them on the inside, that inspiration gets to the bottom of what they truly are. If you ask enough whys, you'll get to the bottom of it. You can see what that person is.
Yeah.
Or whatever in the world, whatever in the world is.
Yeah. I mean, it's just 3 little words. 3 little letters, but it can really get you to the bottom of things, understanding why, motivation. We did that just as as we begin to look at this, understanding why it was that Avram even went and left from his family, because the why is not always stated, in the scriptures, but based on somebody's actions, sometimes you're able to determine what that why is without it being stated. We can't see the internal why that Lot makes the decisions that he makes, but we do see an external why, right? He said this place is well watered. There's water everywhere, right? And he goes.
It's like going to New York City. You like, that's the place.
It's
the
popping.
You could be a star. You could do whatever. You know,
everything's there for you. And so it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting that the scriptures is giving it to you like he's talking to Moses. And so when he's talking back, when we're looking backwards at it, like in verse 10, where Lot lifted his eyes and saw that the plains of Jordan were well watered, and then we have this kind of a parenthetical before Yahweh destroys Sodom and Gomorrah. Right? It's like a little parenthetical thing. This place is this
It's a
beautiful
trap.
looking place.
It's a trap.
This is before the Most High comes and rains fire down on it.
Exactly.
A little
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
But you know, but it helps to drive home that fact that we really have to be able to look into the intentions, the motivations of a thing to kind of know why this is right. Somebody comes along with these beautiful gifts that they want to just give you. Why are you doing this nice stuff for me? What you want from me? Like it's
You go to a city. Why do you make this statue? Who is this? Oh, this is my God. Oh, you worship this God. That answers.
yeah.
People don't ask why enough.
You don't. If you asked it more,
You
I'm
get-
sure
yeah.
that you would save yourself a lot of trouble.
You get through life much easier asking why.
That's the first thing I ask these kids when they say, "Why did you do that?
Exactly.
Why did you do that?"
They said, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so you don't know, so let me tell you why you shouldn't do that. And I don't want to see that
And I've
again.
been doing this thing for so long. I'm telling these people, like, look, if you don't know why you're doing it, then don't do it.
Exactly. They can't help it. They can't help
because they're
it.
little animals.
I just said that.
But
was
that
at the car.
that's
Right there.
some powerful knowledge that they should be holding on to. Wait, if I don't know why I'm doing it, maybe I should. But
Or consult.
it's too much. It's too much to expect from these little instinctual animals that they are. It's too much to expect.
I've dove into their whys, and sometimes it's just so.
It's foolishness at times. Isn't
Oh,
it
yeah.
But they'll
foolishness?
tell you why. Sometimes it won't be. I don't know. It's just like, well, I just want to see what would happen.
Yeah, right. But so it goes. So you don't know why, or the why is totally illogical.
Right.
But it boils down to it's just carnality. It's just feeding these appetites, that we know is always going to veer us off into the wrong, of wrong. He was appeasing an appetite of selfishness when he gives away his wife and says that she's say that you're my sister. There was a carnal appetite that was hungering for self-preservation.
Right.
And he appeased that by saying, just say that you're my sister so they don't kill me. Right? And so if we are able to really, not children, adults, because children, their minds aren't done growing yet. They still just do these things instinctually. Okay. Sometimes, we have to be able to just take a step back when we move into these various endeavors and seek the wisdom of the Most High first, and really determine whether the things that we're doing, is it carnality? Am I actually walking in my flesh, or am I walking in my Ruach HaKodesh? And when we kind of slow things down, I think it really can help us in our walk, because when we move instinctually, it most always is going to be that easy, that carnal thing that that we're moving into. Okay, that being said, we are going to go ahead and be done for now. Y'all willing, will be back on next Shabbat to continue with our look at the triennial Torah portion. We'll go into more of the story of Lot and what he gets himself into, and the rest of the scriptures, y'all willing. So, that being said, we'll say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
What?